Okay, let's do some quick intros. So I'll call out your name and I'll go down the list, and then, as is traditional, I will get to the bottom of the list and I will have missed somebody out. So at that point you have to wave furiously. So I'm Kevin Noonan. I'm the outgoing director of VAC. Next on my list is Ricky.
Hi, I'm Ricky from Voluntary Action Camden, the Building and Finance Administrator.
Great. And Robert.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert Taylor and I work for Camden Federation of Private Tenants.
Zubair.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Zubair. I develop community-based mental health initiatives with VAC, and just for transparency, I also work for Camden Council, managing the community response team.
And this is not a gender thing. That was just in my list, 4 men in a row at the beginning. So Aisha, you're next on the list.
Hey everyone, my name's Aisha. I'm the project support worker for Henna Asian Women's Group.
Okay, Donna.
Sorry, I'm Donna, the Community Development Manager at VAC.
Ira.
Hello, Ira from Kentish Town City Farm.
Nazrin.
Hi everyone, I'm from Voluntary Action Camden and I work on the care navigation and social prescribing service.
Sasika.
Hi everyone, I'm Sasika Amina. I'm with Camden Council's Community Partnership team. At the moment, I'm on a 12-month secondment from Age UK Camden.
Shelley.
Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and I'm the Partnerships and Engagement Lead at Healthwatch Camden.
We've got 2 Johns today. John Muir, you go first.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. It's John Muir from Camden Council, Head of Community Partnerships, and good to meet you all.
And John Nellis.
Yeah, hi, I'm the communications worker at VAC.
And John, yes, John is our new communications worker. So any items you've got for the bulletin now, send them to John, but we'll send around the contact details. Zenobi.
Hi everyone, I'm Zenobi. I'm part of the Community Partnerships team at Camden Council.
Right, now, have I got everyone apart from Keith? Anyone I've missed out? Great, okay. So what we'd like to do first is introduce Keith and welcome Keith as the new Chief Exec of Voluntary Action Camden, officially starting from tomorrow. So I'd like to hand over to Keith. Here's an opportunity, I guess, to hear what Keith has got to say and also ask him any questions, really. So it's just a quick open session, an initial chance to get to know Keith.
Thanks, Kevin. So I'm not going to take up too much time because I've still got a huge amount to learn, and I'll be spending my first few months just trying to absorb as much information as possible. I went to a meeting last week, and it was the London Care Partnership Board meeting, and I've got to say within an hour I was totally confused and my brain was scrambled. It wasn't until they started to talk about the difficulties of recruitment that I managed to engage a little bit, because that's something that has been felt across the sector, as the voluntary community sector, so it was familiar to me. So yeah, I'm just going to spend as much time as I can to just try and learn from everybody, absorb all the information I can. I'll be swatting over Christmas, as well as trying to consume as many mince pies as possible. So yeah, I'm really excited to join. I'm familiar with, for those that don't know me, I'm from, I used to work for Camden Council for a couple of years, starting in the strategy and change team, and then moving through the organisation, and then my final role there was head of the the leader's office and cabinet office before I started at Young Camden Foundation, and I've been at YCF for 3 years, working with the voluntary community sector, but specifically the children and young people part of it, and then now joining VAC. So I'm familiar with Camden. I'm familiar with the voluntary community sector, and I think I know a few of you already, so that's really good. It's good to see lots of friends and people that I will be relying on, I'm sure, as I start in my new role. So yeah, I wanted to give an opportunity really for anybody that might want to ask me, questions about my thinking around my vision for the first period of being at VAC. And yeah, if anybody wants to arrange a time for us to catch up, I'll be really keen to do that, especially in the in the new year, so I can develop a relationship with you and as I said, to learn from you and to figure out what's best in terms of how we support your organisation or the work that you do. So yeah, is that okay for an introduction, and is it all right if I open up if anyone's got any specific questions for me?
Sure, let's open up. Any questions for Keith?
I'll go then, Keith.
Go on, Shelley.
Well, welcome to VAC in your new role and to Camden. Just wanted to hear your vision for the next few months. Where do you see VAC going?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's and it's good that John Muir is here on the call. It's a pivotal period for us come March, April. There's a few capacity building opportunities that we would like to get confirmation on in terms of our relationship with the council and also supporting the sector on a whole. I think there's a few opportunities that are materializing from different parts of the funding landscape, which I'm really keen to explore with the team. I'm really keen to start maximizing the assets that we have within the organization and start to strengthen those relationships with the sector. And we've got an amazing, from what I've seen, an amazing staff team, and I'm really keen to hear from them about what their ambitions for the work that they do, and how I can provide support and how we can identify other opportunities of revenue streams in order for them to expand the work that they do or to deepen the work that they do. So that's that in a nutshell, I think is probably what I'm going to be focusing on for the next few months. There's huge amount of work that has been going on before me that I will have to pick up on. There's things like the rents and leases discussion, which I know is an interesting one. There's obviously the fantastic work that Donna's been doing with the social prescribing, and I'm really keen to get myself up to speed on everything that's happening and where Donna and the team think we can extend the work or deepen the work. And then there's the Camden Renewal Commission, which is, if anyone knows exactly what it is about, then please, I'd love to speak to you straight away, because that's a beast. It's a huge amount of policy work that's gone into it, and so I think there is there's a space for the voluntary community sector to support the council with their strategic objectives within that big policy piece. So I'm keen for VAC to be at the forefront of that work. So yeah, I don't know if is that enough for you, Shelley? I'll tell you more when I'm more embedded.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you, Keith, in your new guise.
Robert, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I'm just interested to get your thoughts on the role of the voluntary action body in terms of providing a collective voice for voluntary and community groups. I mean, I've been involved in different voluntary organisations, umbrella organisations in different boroughs over the years, and that seemed to be a key function. It seems to be less of a one now. Some people seem to think it's quite an old-fashioned thing, but actually I think it's more important than ever before that we have a collective voice and that we have an organisation that pulls all those diverse strands together and provides that collective voice. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you see that working out over the next few months and years.
I totally agree with you, Robert. It's I can't disagree with anything that you said there. I think it's really important that the voluntary sector has a harmonious voice when it comes to some of those big stakeholder conversations that we're regularly involved in, and those that have heard me speak at the various meetings that VAC, VCC, and other infrastructure organisations have been a part of, you'll know that I have always advocated for the fact that we have a joint, or at lest we have a principle, a set of principles that we rely upon and that we refer to whenever we're in those big sort of strategic conversations and meetings, and we have an understanding at least about the direction in which we think the voluntary community sector should be heading, and that is informed directly by the communities that we work with, and so we take, I'm really passionate about enforcing a bottom-up approach to engagement with some of those those key stakeholders. So I agree with you totally, and I will definitely be focusing on how we strengthen the relationship between the key organisations within the voluntary community sector, but not ignoring those often marginalised groups or organisations. And VAC does fantastic work with working with those smaller, more likely to be marginalised groups. And so I think there is there's already a lot of work that's been going on to try and raise the profile and try and raise their voices within those conversations. So yeah, I agree, and that's definitely a priority for me.
Okay, thanks, Keith. John, you've got your hand up.
Brilliant, thanks, Kevin. Keith, yes, really, congratulations on the role. Really looking forward to working with you. And I know we've got a few sessions booked in early in the new year, but I'm really interested in sort of hearing your impressions on the top sort of one or two priorities that you think that VAC and Camden Council need to focus on shifting. Hopefully we'll be working on a broader programme of work and obviously working really closely on the VCS rents and leases, but sort of one or two things you think we really need to focus on early in the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think the first that we need to be focusing on is how it relates back to Robert's question really about strengthening the relationship between the voluntary community sector and having a sort of harmonious approach to how we engage with the various different stakeholders, key stakeholders. So I think that is a priority for the sector, is I guess almost, for want of a better word, kind of putting our own house in order first before we expend any more resources on developing a relationship with the key stakeholders. So I'll be focusing on strengthening our collective energy and resources, and creating more partnerships and opportunities for us to collaborate. So that's priority number one. And I think as I've mentioned before, the two policy areas or the two areas of focus which I think VAC should be concentrating on is our work in care and social prescribing, and trying to meet the challenges that the care sector are facing in relation to the fallout of the pandemic. So I'll be focusing on that. And then you know, there are, as I said, there are issues in which I think the you know, sector has suffered significantly. So financial instability, you know, that there's, because of the pandemic, a lot of organisations have really struggled financially, and their financial viability in the future is in question. So I would like to prioritise how we support those organisations and maintain a strong voluntary community sector in the borough, because we are in danger of losing that. And you know, we have I think probably taken for granted really how you know, rich the voluntary community sector is in the borough, and we know that there are, you know, financial pressures being felt across various different sectors. So that includes, you know, the local authority. But if we lose, you know, if we lose the voluntary sector that we have in Camden, then those that are going to lose are going to be the communities that we serve. So so I'm really concerned about that, John, and I'll be really keen to have, you know, work with you on how we maintain that really strong sector.
Great, thanks, Keith. Now I've just been prompted that Diana, you put a couple of questions in the chat. I mean, there's one about, obviously you've come from a young people's organisation, Keith. There's some question there about whether the focus would change, and also about remaining independent. I don't know if you want to just say something about those.
Yeah, so the first question about whether so yes, you're quite right. I've come from a youth background, and I've just come from a youth charity, and I think that's an asset actually. I don't think that is will be a distraction. I think it's good to have you know, someone that will be able to inject a bit of knowledge and understanding about the children and young people sector within the voluntary community sector. So I think yeah, it will add to it. So I'm keen to add different elements of the work that I've picked up from YCF into the VAC. And you know, there's conversations that we, like VAC, we have regular conversations with the children and young people sector, and so I'll be bringing some of that feedback and you know, knowledge that's been acquired through those conversations with members. And then the second question about independence, VAC is an independent organisation. I don't see it any other way, and you know, we will continue to be that critical friend to the council and other key stakeholders. But equally, you know, we're a strategic partner for the council, with the council. So you know, the work that I do with the work that I'll be doing hopefully across the council will not only be for the benefit of the sector, but also as a strategic partner will be beneficial for the council and those key stakeholders. So it will remain, of course, it will remain independent.
Great, thanks, Keith. Any other questions or points that anyone wants to make? If not, I will wrap this item up there. Thanks very much, Keith. I know that all of staff and volunteers and trustees at VAC, and I'm sure all of the sector will support you and help you as you find your feet. And so a warm welcome to you. Robert, is that a legacy hand, or did you have another question?
No, it's just a very quick comment, Kevin. I think at this appropriate time of looking forward, it's also important to look back, and I'd just like to thank you for all your efforts over the years as well. I think, you know, it's been really good to work with you, and I think, you know, you've done a commendable job steering the organisation. So it's good to look forward, but I think we should also acknowledge what's gone before as well. And I'd just like to say my thanks to all the things you've done for us and helped for us. Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Robert. That's very kind of you. And very, very nice of you all to say. let's move on swiftly. Just before we go on to the next section, I know we've just been joined by a few people, so you missed intros. So can we get just get Benaifa, Halima, and I think it was Lucy and Diana, just quickly introduce yourselves. So Diana, do you want to go first?
Sorry, I didn't put my video on because I've been decorating. So, yeah, hello, welcome. I think some of you know me. I'm Diana Foster and I'm starting a museum in Somerstown completely independently of anything really. And we've been running a history club, so I would like to work with VAC moving forward. And it's nice to meet you, and thank you very much, Kevin, for all your help and advice. And
you're welcome.
Because we do work with a lot of older people, although we do want to bring younger people into that.
Sure.
So we don't want the older people ignored either, though.
No, absolutely. So, okay, Lucy.
Hi. Oh, bear with me one second. Sorry, I just wanted to put some noise off in the office. Hi, I'm Lucy from Voiceability, and I'm the service coordinator for the Camden peer mentoring and peer coaching services. Right. Both of those, is that all you need me to say?
That's fine. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Benaifa.
Hi everyone, I'm Benaifa. I'm chair of Voluntary Action Camden and also CEO of Hopscotch Women's Centre. And I just wanted to echo what everybody has said. Kevin, thank you, and thank you for putting on this day so that we can get to know Keith a little bit better.
Great. Okay, and Halima.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi everyone, my name's Halima. I'm one of the community partners on the community partnerships team at Camden Council. I've met most of you, and some of you I've heard some great things about, so I look forward to working more closely with you.
Great. Okay, thanks. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to introduce themselves now. So let's move on to the next item. So this is looking at the manifesto. So I'm just going to start with a quick reminder of what we have done so far. I'm going to share my screen to show the Padlet, and hopefully you can all see that. This was this is a wall, an online wall. I'm going to share the link if you don't have that already. I'll put that in the chat. And this is what came out of it last time. And with the Padlet, you'll see that across the top, these boxes have the issues that were raised, and then underneath you can add comments. And it's very easy to do. If you just see this plus button, you just hit that button and you'll see there's an opportunity to write the subject there. So I'm going to write comment, and then I'm going to write this is how you make a comment, and then you hit publish and it appears, it appears there. So now let me just quickly go across the top. So we've got stuff about a forum for talking with policymakers, social value, the new integrated care system / partnership, viewing the the VCS as an equal partner. There's one about asset transfer and fair rent and fair access to civic space. Induction for public sector about the VCS, reviewing commissioning. This is here's one about the compact or terms of engagement, so that we know how to work with each other. I mean, on very basic terms, I think in the past, some of it is high level, but some of it's very simple, like how long should a consultation be? So we now have consultations of all varying lengths, and you know what it's like in the voluntary sector, particularly if the board want to discuss, then timescales need to be fairly generous. Oops, sorry, that just moved. Where did we get up to? Looking again at commissioning. Oh, there's an interesting one. Putting council data on 360 giving. That would be interesting, bit niche. Here's what I like. Joining with the sector to do a biannual state of the sector survey. There are some fantastic ones done in other parts of the country, Manchester, Walsall, and they give really interesting and valuable data about the contribution of the sector. So, I mean, that's one of my favorites. Co-producing the next VCS funding strategy, that's going to be very topical soon. Clarifying liaison pathways between the sector and the council. So those were the ideas that, came up last time. Let me share that Padlet wall. And so hopefully if you click on the link in chat, you should be able to see that wall. And you can, as well as making your own posts on the wall, you can also comment on other people's posts, and you can also rate other people's posts. Now, what we're proposing to do is to break into small groups and give you about 15 minutes to do 3 things. So we're going to do groups of 3 or 4 people, introduce yourself, have a look at the existing suggestions, and there's 2 things really. Prioritize the ones that you think are the top priority, but also add in anything you think is missing. Are there things that really the sector wants, but have been missed out so far? So 3 things. And Ricky is going to divide you randomly into rooms of 3 or 4 people. So Ricky, if you can start that process, and then we'll call you back after 15 minutes and then share what's been done. And you can add to the wall live as well whilst you're discussing. So Ricky, how are we doing?
Yep, just about to do it now.
Okay.
Okay, should start to move you all in.
Okay, welcome everyone back. I hope that you had a chance to have a good discussion. So we're just going to go around and maybe hear back from each group. Maybe so can I ask room 1? So room 1 had Aisha, Diana, Robert, and Zubair. Can one of you just tell us a little bit about the main points? What did you think was missing, and what did you think was the most important thing on the list?
Hi, Kevin. I think I'll report back. If that's okay with my group?
Well done, Zubair.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. A parting gift to you. There you go. I think we made it. It was a very good discussion. I think we picked up a few things. Sorry, I'm off camera because the charge is gone on my phone. Sorry about that. So it's about maintaining our independence. That's really important as a VAC, especially in terms of our relationship with the council and also our ability to network and engage with the sector itself. That's really important. The other point that was made was that we need to avoid duplication in the sector in terms of work streams that we engage in. That was another point that came across. Need to maintain our identity. And the other important was that we need a champion, a councillor to be a champion of the sector. We don't seem to have that. Particularly, that was something that came through from the group. That's our councillor to really voice our concerns and take us forward. And also, so slight concerns that the council is such a big bureaucracy that sometimes we have to do things we have to work in a different way to make sure that those networks are still there. And we work very closely, but sometimes the council seems to not be so understanding as they might be. And I think that was something that came through from the group as well. Is that okay? Kevin?
I'm on mute. Gosh, well, that's I'm going to celebrate my last forum by speaking whilst on mute. Thanks, Zubair. That was really good. Don't forget, we've got Anna Wright. I think we've got some councillors, and of course, there may be new ones after May next year. But yeah, do add your things to the wall. So those are really good points. If there's nothing else from room 1, let's do room 2. So that was Keith, Lucy, and Sassika. Does one of you want to feed back?
I left the room a little bit early. Can I ask Keith to give a little bit of feedback from our room, or Lucy?
You want to, Lucy? Okay, I think, yeah, I'll go ahead. So yeah, we some of us have been looking at this for the first time. So we looked at 2, we didn't get to 3. So we looked at 2, we looked at the headline of clarify liaison and communication pathways between the sector and the council. And we had a conversation about relationships and commissioning and how organisations within the voluntary sector receive funding. And it led us to a conversation about the need to have some sort of central portal, a cross-portfolio portal with shared access, which provides regular updates about opportunities, so that it's not, you know, your success of putting in a bid is not based on your relationship with somebody within the council necessarily. And, you know, there's obviously vulnerabilities of that if that person leaves, or if you don't have the capacity to be able to develop those relationships, you might lose out. Or if you don't have the capacity to read, you know, the plethora of information about funding opportunities, then you might not be, you might not be considered for something that is very suitable for the organisation that you work with and the work that you do. So we suggested that as an area of further development. And then we started to talk about the headline on pledge to induct new staff and members about the role of VCS. And then there was a question raised about, well, what is VAC? What do they do? And we started to talk about the relationships that some organisations might have with VAC, and others might not have those types of relationships. And then you know, we started talking about you know, the strengthening of the infrastructure of the VCS. So we started talking about recruitment and the need to recruit, retain, replenish staff. We talked about the cost of living. We talked about how difficult it is for somebody who works in the charity sector to you know, to keep living in what is an ever increasingly, you know, costly city, and that there is a danger that we lose staff because of that, and that we either need to have a concerted effort on making it attractive to join and to stay in the voluntary community sector, and that would inevitably lead to, you know, having more investment, more salary increases, and more investment generally. Otherwise, as the point I mentioned before, we will start to lose really pivotal services within the community.
Great, thanks, Keith. Those are all really good points. So do add them to the wall. We need to capture those. So unless anyone from that group has got anything to add, let's move on to room 3. So that was Donna, Ira, John Muir, and Shelley. Does one of you want to feed back to us?
Hello? Yep. Okay. Okay, so we started straight into the resourcing issue, and you know, this is the first point made was really that it would be really good to understand what the total investment in the voluntary and community sector is. And, you know, in the context that we are under so much pressure at the moment, not just in terms of service delivery, but also in terms of engaging in this whole new emergence of this new system from neighbourhood right up to 5 level. And so we talk quite a lot about funding and resourcing and commissioning, changing commissioning. Commissioning has to change. It has to become more accessible and voluntary sector friendly. We need to relook at grant funding, and actually, you know, public bodies like the NHS can do grant funding. They don't have to commission. Yeah, all those kinds of things. And actually the structure of funding as well, how restrictive that can be. Project funding is really not helpful a lot of the time. Being able to value activity, that takes the type of activity and the support that's given in the sector to residents, rather than having to sort of reprove the whole time that this is a good thing, or having to make out, you know, sort of see one thing in a different light rather than for what it is, and that it has value in itself. Anyway, so it's a combination of the funding situation and the idea of voluntary sector voice, I suppose. So we got to the end and decided we needed a bigger conversation on this. So I think some of us are going to get our heads together and perhaps do some kind of event on the particular strands we were talking about.
Right. Okay. Sounds like a lively room, and good. Make sure you captured all of that on the wall, please. And finally, room 4, Manifesto, Halima, and John Nellis. Does one of you want to feed back to us on your discussion?
Kevin, sorry, I think John had his hand up. John from that group had his hand.
Thanks, Keith. It was just a very quick one to say, Kevin, you asked us about what we thought was missing, and we got onto, I think, a really interesting conversation around kind of neighbourhood and place, I think, right towards the end of our group. And I think there's something really interesting here to look at in terms of, I suppose, that kind of relationship between the voluntary sector, kind of community organisations in place as one prism through which to look at this. So that just kind of came up in the last minute. Again, there were sort of four of us in the room kind of going, yes, let's talk more about that.
Yeah, no, interesting point. Do capture that one on the wall. Thanks for that, John. Great. Okay, and then so the last group, that was Manifesto, Halima, and John Nellis. Does one of you want to feed back to us?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Thanks, Kevin. So our group actually focused on sort of liaison and communication pathways between the sector and the council, just because of John's new role at VAC as a comms officer, and then sort of my role as well, and Benife's interests. So we were just talking about sort of what works at the moment, highlighting the VAC newsletter and the newly refurbished website and how wonderful it is, and how much we refer to it, and the ways of improving that. We were talking about, I guess, named links with the council, especially officers that we could feed, the VCS can feed information back to for wider dissemination, so that information is flowing sort of both ways. We also discussed sort of some useful tools, online tools that John's been using in the first few months of being at VAC to utilize sort of the very limited time a lot of VCS organizations have to dedicate to communications work. So using sort of platforms like Hootsuite to really amplify social media coverage of, because one of the things Benifesto was also talking about is that there's so much great work that happens on the ground, and you know, the feeding that back through to social media channels and making it more widely sort of known is part of what will make people aware that a lot of this great work is happening. But of course, that needs to be balanced out with the very limited resources that VCS organizations have to dedicate to comms work, especially things like social media. But we do appreciate that the newsletter and the website, for example, are something that we should be quite proud of, and that we do refer to quite a lot. I think that was everything, unless John, you had anything else to add.
Great. Okay, thanks very much for that. So unless there's anything else to add, let me just wind up. We've got 2 minutes to go. So if I could ask that all of you make sure that what you discussed is captured on the wall, Obviously, we've got this recording, so we can use this as well. The next steps, I think when we started this back in May, we committed to pulling it all together in January. I know I'm slightly exceeding my brief by committing Keith to something, but I think that was the organizational commitment. So that essentially, obviously, next year, there are local elections. And so we want to avoid getting caught up in PERDA and everything. So it would be good to get all of this in some sort of easily accessible format out in January. So I think that really brings us to the end of today. I'd just like to thank you all for coming. And if we don't see you before Christmas, then I'd like to wish you all a peaceful and safe Christmas. And I'm looking forward to 2022. Things can only get better. So thank you all.
Thank you,
day.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.